Welcome back to the Soman Podcast. My name is Matt Brozick. I have Kelly Meyers with me. A couple of cool things. I was just telling you, a 12-year-old, maybe niece of mine, at Pastel Pencil makes us these sweet stickers. Like I say all the time, if you have a legit sticker, that means you have a legit podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's causation for sure. So thank you very much to Pastel Pencil on the gram, Bolton Menk Studios for having us here. Super cool spot. Actually, What do you have any idea? What are we like mid-20s episode, Tony? Is that kind of 24? Wow. All right, 24. Wow.
Dang.
We are. We made it 22 longer than I thought we would. So thank you everybody for watching. Like I said, Bolton Menk Studios on the gram. Thanks for having us. We also want to thank White Claw. Whoever owns White Claw, do you know who owns White Claw? I don't know either. But whatever they did and put in these cans is absolutely delicious because it's like, what, 101 degrees outside right now?
It is. It's a heat wave.
It's
I might be
unbelievable.
sweating a little.
That's okay. We can edit that out. Tony does absolute amazing things. So our guest today is Kelly Meyers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So you were telling me beforehand that you got a whole bunch of dirt on me or something. I don't know what it is. So how do we know, kind of vicariously know each other?
Here's how I indirectly know you. So I met your middle sister, Jen, through some friends I knew that went to East because I worked at Red Lobster in Mankato.
Okay.
And then here's the part that I was saving for this. You went to, here's my stalker sound. You went to U of M Duluth.
Yes, I did.
And I went there my freshman year.
Okay.
And you've got a very recognizable face, those eyes of yours. And I remember seeing you and your big curls, and you have no idea who I was, but I'm like, oh, okay, that's Jen Brozick's brother. Cool.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I legit remember seeing you walk through Duluth, and I went there 1 year.
Wow.
So
yes, my hair was longer than yours, and it's very curly. Yeah, that was so my mom, she bribed me to actually cut my hair at a certain point. No joke. I told this story today. I was getting my hair cut today, and I was telling the gal who was cutting my hair, she's like, and I hadn't had it cut in a little while, so she's like, this is so curly. This is like crazy. So I was telling her, I'm like, no, it's like ringlets, you know? And so I explained to her that when I was up in Duluth, my whole idea is I didn't have an employer or a wife that would tell me that I couldn't look like a homeless child. And so I grew it long for 3.5 years, 4 years. I just grew it out. And literally at the point, the summer before my mom made me cut my hair that winter and bribed me to do so with the Pierre what is it?
Peer pressure?
No. PMB. It was Pierre-Marc Bouchard. I got one of his wild jerseys back in the day.
Sure.
That's what my mom bribed me with. But
got it.
So legitimately, I got out of Lake Francis and I could grab my hair off my back like this. It was that long. It was unbelievable.
But they were like Justin Timberlake curls.
Yes, so it was twice that long in actuality. If I would have straightened it was outstanding.
That's insane.
The shorter my hair has gotten, the more responsible I've been. So that's kind of like the gauge. If you see my hair grow way out again,
that's
it's like
kind of why I didn't really
responsibility's
recognize you.
going
I'm like, where's the curls?
Yeah.
All right. It makes sense.
That's really funny that you went to UMD.
Yeah.
Okay, so why'd you leave?
I fell in love.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not
We're
with
still
UMD.
married. 9 years, 2 kids.
Wow.
So yeah, I met my now husband,
What's
also
his
working
name?
at Red Lobster, Luke Meyers. He's a teacher here in town.
Okay.
And we started dating. It wasn't supposed to be anything. And
Did you just bring him like an awesome lobster or something? And he was just like, wow.
Nope.
This gal carries the tray.
I mean, that would be a way cooler story. But he actually worked at Red Lobster as well. But he
said that.
came in for dinner and drinks actually after he was done teaching 1 year. And I was just wrapping up a shift. And he had to have one of his friends come tell me that he thought I was cute. And I was like, is he serious? So I just casually left my number at their table and I said, why don't you call me? And he was so like, where did this come from? But he broke all man code and called me about 30 minutes later, and the rest is history.
Wow.
So
where'd you go on your first date? Red Lobster?
No, we didn't. We were, again, this was not supposed to be anything. It was low-key. We went to Applebee's. Okay. And then we went to the River Hills Mall and ran into 3 people we knew from work. And I'm like, well, that's a good start. Everybody knows now.
Sweet. Now it's going to be a thing. The management's going to know.
Yep,
wow.
Exactly. So I would have loved to leave mid-semester of Duluth because I, was so in love. But my parents convinced me to stay through the year, and I'm glad I did all though I'm still glad I came back to Mankato. So I switched roommates, which kind of helped the situation, but at the end of the day.
So you didn't like your freshman year roommate?
No. Nope.
So what person, because you seem like a person who can get along with practically anybody.
I mean, I'd like to think so.
We've known each other for 8 minutes, and we already found out we're best friends.
We're definitely best friends. And also, shout out to White Claw for making this great variety pack with all good flavors.
There's
usually one variety pack that you're like, I don't want that one.
That's exactly right. 3 of the 4 are good, and now you got to just suffer through the other one.
Right, and those are the ones my husband drinks. There's a pineapple one that I'm like, I don't want that.
Well, at least...
So good choice, Matt.
They probably graduated from Duluth. They knew what to do. No, okay, so tell me, like, I always thought that people that left freshman year, either first semester or right after freshman year in Duluth, they couldn't find something fun to do in all temperatures. Like, were you that type 100%. Of person?
I have worked since I was a teenager, and for whatever reason, usually 2 jobs, I let one of my parents convince me, like, just take that year for you. Just get to know people. Well, when you're falling in love and you're driving back home every weekend, and then I wasn't working, even anywhere on campus or at the Red Lobster in Duluth, which was my initial thought, and then you don't really click with the roommate. To be fair, I hand-selected her because I met her at the orientation, and so maybe I'm not that fun upon the second meeting. No. Just differing of personalities, and then full disclosure, the people I moved in with next were 3 women, and I will never live with them again. They were the biggest slobs. Like,
really?
You would have thought a bunch of dudes lived there. No offense. But dishes piled up with food still on them. Ugh. And I'm like, I can't even make food here. So then it stinks after a while. Oh, yeah. And then they were borderline hoarders on top of that, and So
my freshman year roommate, Josh Hansen. Hey, Josh, I'm going to tag you in this. So we had actually the exact opposite. So this is really cool. So we moved into Griggs S518, which, where were you at? You were in the dorm?
Griggs?
You were in Griggs?
Heck yeah! I was Griggs. I was an old, I had windows covering the walls on both sides and a beautiful view of Lake Superior. And I was like, get me out of here.
So were you in like M or N, or where were you? Do you remember?
There was only 3 floors. I can tell you that. There's only...
Well, they had like all the letters were there was the center, and then the letters went out this way, and then there were the floors. Were you in the middle?
I think
if you saw Superior, you were in the middle.
Yeah.
Or you were on would be the west side, because that was the only side. I couldn't see Superior from my window.
Okay, fun fact, I don't speak in west, north, east, south. I'm like, are you facing the lake?
Yeah, facing the lake.
Looking at the lake or the parking lot?
Looking at the lake, you were on that side.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. I could see Lake Superior Hall out of my other window.
Got it.
So I totally had a dream dorm, but just a mediocre. It was a very high school feeling of a floor, and I may have partaked a little bit in high school, so I didn't need that.
You didn't need the high school?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I met Josh, like literally, hey, we're going to live together. You know, we've never met each other. He's from Hutchinson, you know?
Yep.
And we still hang out to this day.
That's awesome.
We're going to a buddy of mine. He's getting married out in Denver, and like we're texting back and forth right away. Like, dude, we're going to get the same flight. It's going to be great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I only see him probably 4 times a year, maybe. Yep. But he lives in the city, so whenever I'm up, I love to musky fish, and so they have some musky lakes up there. So I'll go over there for a couple of days, and I'll just stay at his place. Which I'm kind of like a vampire, where I just show up at like 10 o'clock at night, and I leave at 4:30 in the morning. So I hardly even see him, because he goes to bed at like midnight and sleeps till noon, and like he's actually really interesting. He owns his own business, buying and selling guitars, and then doing the only way I can understand it is he does a eBay arbitrage. He finds something that he can resell on eBay for more than he bought it for. And he has like this algorithm that figures it out. So he can sleep till noon and be making money, because it just poof happens. And he gets a list. He gets a list at 1 o'clock after he like eats breakfast, and then which Josh, I'm screwing this up. Yeah. But I'm making him sound super lazy.
So he hardly even tries, and he just brings home a bunch of bacon.
I'm making it sound like he's so lazy. He's not. He actually works hard. But he'll take his car and like drive to Tennessee and go find some guitars, bring them back here, and then he resells them. I'm like, God bless America.
Yeah, seriously. That's amazing.
So he was in this corporate job, hated it, like being told what to do all day. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to buy and sell guitars. So I go up there, and he has like 50 guitars in his little mantra, and I like go up and play all of them.
Because do you play?
I do. Yeah.
Does he play too?
Yes.
Okay,
So
I
that
was
was
like, if he doesn't even play, that's even...
So we played open mic like the second week we were there. Just
In Duluth?
In Duluth. Yeah. So that was like really cool.
And did you guys meet each other at like an summer orientation thing like I did?
When we moved in.
Okay, so that was the first time you met him was moving day.
Yeah. And so it's like parents are there and we're like, we were both, no, he was the second college kid. I was the first college kid. So like my parents are bawling and, you know.
Yeah, well, I was the last, so.
They were like,
Bye.
bye. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So so we walked by each other in Griggs.
Yep.
Probably almost every day.
Yep, and I can't even think of, I just remember the tunnels underneath, and there was like a walkway, and I just remember the brick walls on either side, and that was like the main walkway. I think you could go upstairs to the cafeteria, but
oh my gosh.
Crazy.
That is so funny.
That is! When I'm like, wait, Matt Brosick? Tony, I know who this is. He has no idea who I am, but I know a lot about him. So you're married? Two kids, right?
No, I have 4 kids. I have 4.
Okay, I have 2. How?
I don't know. Okay. I'm not sure. I got a great wife.
I was going to say, she must be very patient.
She's at home hauling ass, dealing with them right now.
That's why I married a teacher. He's got built-in patience. I always tell him, like, you're trained on this. I'm not trained on
I can't do it.
on this.
No, I like come home and I'm like, I got like 2-3 hours max of you guys. And it's just like, but no, I have an 8-year-old son, a 6-year-old daughter, a 3-year-old son, and a 11-month-old daughter.
Oh my gosh.
So it's 2 and 2, and they got
plan that? Boy, girl, boy, girl? Like
yeah.
I mean totally.
Yeah. On the spot, it was like that one. We'll have that one. But no, it was so that's kind of our gig. But so now aside from Duluth and me talking about all the dumb stuff we did up there, which I can't even talk about that. But so do you say you're from Mankato?
I'm from Mankato area. I went to Maple River, which is made up of 4 tiny little towns, but just south of Mankato, Mapleton, Minnesota Lake area.
Yeah.
So
and you work for Bolton Menk now?
Yep,
right?
I do.
So what's your job title?
I am a marketing and communications coordinator.
So your job is to do stuff like this? Yes.
But first time on a podcast, so yay, me on this. So yeah, I oversee our conferences that we go to, or big picture. It's external brand enhancement. So anything that's public facing on our brand
sounds so corporate,
doesn't it? It's very corporate.
What should we call this? We need to make sure that this sounds good. Like, how do you say you're a marketing communications coordinator? Like, yeah, cool. What does that even mean? What do you do? Yeah, nobody knows. I don't even know if my husband, I think, finally knows what I do now, but my family. Is your husband kind of introverted or not?
He's like me. But,
really?
Yeah.
Because usually you see couples that'll be like opposite. Like you want to talk with everyone.
Right. I do want to talk with everyone.
Which is good.
But I will say his outwardness transitions well to the classroom. Okay. So he's a 3rd grade teacher. And yeah, he's definitely not afraid to talk. So cool. I'm probably more likely to go up and talk to, he would not be this conversational with you. Sorry, honey. He might be in this environment.
He's gonna watch this, be like, "Seriously?
You threw me under the bus like that? Sorry. Maybe it would be."
We'll meet someday. We'll talk. It'll be great.
Yes.
We'll have fun. Okay, so tell me, so you grow up Maple River.
Yep.
Okay. So you graduated there.
I did. Graduated there.
You worked at Red Lobster.
I worked at Red Lobster. Yep. Then I went to Duluth. Didn't work.
Did you know Kirsty Bruns?
Yes.
I mean, she worked there as well.
Throw the names at me. I know them all. Like the entire Mankato
the whole
East.
staff.
Yeah. Drew McCabe was my bestie.
Absolutely.
Shout out. Haven't seen you in a long time. Yeah. But yeah, we really did become like a tight-knit family. So I actually would drive home from Duluth and work at the Mankato Red Lobster. Yeah. Which is kind of backwards. But it really was. It was like my little community that being in high school was so far was bigger than Mapleton was, and which was the appeal of Duluth. Get me out of small town. I want the big city of Duluth, which is kind of funny now that I think about it.
It is actually the population of Duluth, exclusive of Superior, is like 100,000 people. It's a lot.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, if you've taken Superior, I think Superior's another 35 or something like that.
And I have a really good friend that I met at college, and she's still up there, and she's born and raised in Duluth, and she's like, I'll never leave. And I mean, you talked about people that can enjoy all seasons. That's absolutely her. Yep. And you're right.
I have clients that ask me, and they're like, my kid wants to go to Duluth. Like, it's so cold. And I'm like, well, here's the deal. If they can find something to do in all weather.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't matter the temperature. If they just can find something to do, they will absolutely love it. If they can't, they will hate the 9 months of freezing weather.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
I had a funny story one time we were talking about well, what is there to do up there in the winter? I'm like, well, there's a lot actually. There's like, you can snowshoe, you can talk about winter camping. Like, that's a thing up there. Like, you actually go winter camping. And they're asking like, okay, well, if they don't like to do that, I'm like, even if they just like, when school's canceled for 3 days because there's a blizzard where you literally can't leave for days on end. If they just want to go sit in their winter gear in the snowbank at the end of the driveway and watch it snow and have a beer, like, they'll do just fine.
Yeah. Yep. So true.
Oh my gosh. I could talk about Duluth forever, which I shouldn't because it'll just be a me podcast talking about Duluth.
Yes. Sorry. I'll retract that. Where are we at? Mapleton?
I don't even know where we're at. Okay,
where did I come from?
So that's where you came from. Why did you like go to Duluth and check it out and were like, hey, the summer looks nice and I want to go up there? Did you just pick it? Throw a dart?
It was the furthest away without being Crookston and still a U.
Yeah.
I definitely had my mind set on, full disclosure, it was the only school I even applied to.
Really?
And also, my ACT score, not awesome. So nope. So the fact that I got in without needing to retake my ACT, I was like, done. Okay, good. We're good. Going to college. Done.
So were you like not a book smart person? Did you take tests bad?
I'm not a tester. Oh my gosh.
Tester?
I will never forget taking my ACT and my best friend and I after each other looking at each other like, never again. My brain hurts.
Yes.
I can't read that fast.
Yes.
Math and science are not my strong suit, so that's half the test.
Yes.
And reading is my strong suit, and writing. And when I took my ACT, it was one of the first. The writing part was optional, and they lost my writing part, so I had to go back in and retake that summer.
Oh my
Luckily, it was my strong suit, but yeah. So I just was looking to get out of small town USA and get something completely new. So I fully know that if I hadn't met my husband, I probably wouldn't be working for Bolton Menk right now. So I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. Yeah. It's just the irony of how much I wanted to get away and then how I ended up right here. Truly living my best life, though. It's just...
Isn't that cool?
My husband and I are big Dave Matthews fans, and he's got a song called "Funny the Way It Is," and it's such a true song. So give it a listen, everybody. And it's all about perspective and just appreciating what you have in the moment.
Yeah. So I am not a good test taker as well.
Yeah.
So I was a history and philosophy major. So like
How are those tests?
you give me no, they were easy because all you needed to do was argue a point, and it's a structure.
Oh, okay. So you can write.
You can. Yeah, I'm a writer, like talker. Like my fun class was going into class, and like they would put a question on the board, and we would just pick a side and argue it. Like I thought that was kind of fun.
That's awesome.
I thought it was great. So and then history I find really interesting because it's like the perspective you're talking about.
Yep.
It's like. History, I think, is taught too much where it's like, guess what happened June 6th, 1944?
Yep.
D-Day happened. And then that's it. It's like, no, these people had families. These were sons. These were husbands. These were people that, I mean, you think about the terror and fear and like all of the stuff that culminated in their lives. Mm-hmm. And like grandmas knew their grandsons were likely not coming back, and they kissed them and hugged them goodbye and said, "Go kill the damn Germans." Like that's what they said, and they knew that was happening. And like the shortages of butter and like other weird stuff, you couldn't buy a new car because they turned the Ford dealership into making bombs and planes. Like it, I think that's why I love history so much because it's like. You look at what these people went through. It wasn't a date in time that you just circle A on the test.
Yep.
It's like these were lives that people lived, and they had brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews and dogs and like all these things that we have here.
Yep.
But people don't get the perspective of, you kill or like what is it? I think it's 60 million people died in the Second World War, civilians and everybody alike. It's like that impacts the entire globe in a way that we don't even understand.
Right.
Anyway, so the point of it is like you talk about perspective. That's a great way of looking at it. Like, guess what? We have it pretty cush here.
Yep.
This is amazing.
Absolutely.
We can go to McDonald's and we can eat whenever we want. Like, we don't have to worry about starving in 1905 in Duluth, like when the winter was 17 months long.
Yep, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
But so the point of what I'm saying is, aside from all the history stuff, but I was also not very good at the ACT, whatever.
Yeah.
I applied to Mankato,
Yep.
St. Cloud, and Duluth.
Sure.
All of my cousins at that point, which were however many, 3 or 4 older than me.
Yep.
And then all my mom, my dad, all my aunts and uncles, like everybody went to St. Cloud State.
Okay, that's what I thought I remembered about your sister. I'm like,
Yes.
Jen went to St. Okay.
Jen went to St. Cloud. Like everybody went to St. Cloud State. So I'm like, well, that's where I'm going to go. Yep. They had me take an extra test because they didn't think I was smart enough. I went in and it was all math and like spelling. I can't do mental math or spell at all.
Spelling?
It was terrible. Well, I probably threw that in there for dramatic effect, but you know what I mean? Oh, the two things I can't do.
It worked.
Yeah, the two things I can't do is mental math and
no.
spelling. It was so bad. They literally like looked at it and they're like, "You probably shouldn't come here." I'm like, "Oh, great. Well, that really helps." And so I applied to those 3 places, and MSU is supposed to be like quote unquote the easiest to get into. Then St. Cloud was like middle, and Duluth was the hardest because it was like a part of the University of Minnesota system, right?
That would be my perspective.
I don't think I got into the other 2. I only got into Duluth.
They saw beyond our test scores.
Yeah, they knew that we were smart people.
Thank you, Duluth, for
yeah,
that.
Way to go. Go Bulldogs. But like when I was up there, I had the greatest time in the world.
All of my professors were awesome, too.
Oh, my gosh.
Absolutely test for
You
that.
didn't take the intro to theater arts, did you? You would know it if you did.
No, I took a dance class instead.
Okay.
And even I liked her. It was 4 o'clock on Fridays, though, which really sucked when I was trying to drive back to Mankato.
Oh, yeah.
But what was intro to? I feel like I took something like that when I transferred to Mankato. So not nearly to the extent of what you're saying.
Intro to theater arts was unbelievable. I have to tell you a story after this. I can't even tell on the podcast of the story of the final that I had to do and the scene I had to act out.
Oh.
It was pretty unbelievable. Let's just say I was a business guy, like away from home in some city that I don't live in.
Oh, no.
Me walking into a hotel with some gal who is not my wife. That was the scene. So I can't even tell the rest of it because it was. And
that's an intro?
That was 8 o'clock, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 a.m., Monday, Wednesday, Friday, first semester. Let's just say, sorry everybody for knowing that, but I got an A+ in that class. I think it was the only 100% that I got in the entire 4 years I was up there.
Oh my gosh, that is so good.
So walking in Monday morning and you're just like, wow, this is what we're doing, huh?
Here we go.
That was my scene. And Maria, who is the gal who is on the other side, I'm like, good to meet you. Now,
Hey.
this is our scene.
You?
Okay. This is what college is like. So anyway.
Is that freshman year?
First semester, freshman year. Yeah. Isn't that?
Anyone without your personality, can you imagine?
It was unbelievable. I couldn't,
And even so,
when we, at the very end, so our final was that at the end of the semester, when we did and scene, the whole rest of the class is literally looking at us like.
And how did you 2 win that one?
Well, we did a good job. We were convincing. It was nothing inappropriate, but
right.
I mean, you're basically making out in front of the whole class.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was quite interesting.
It's one way to kick off your
So
freshman
the best
year.
part is, so now you talk about walking past people in the hallway. I saw Maria the rest of the 4 years there.
Well, you can't unsee
No, and we
that
high
face.
five. We're sweet. Can you imagine that happened? For the rest of the time.
No,
I wish I would run into her today because I think I would run up and hug her and be like, I still tell that story. Do you tell that story?
Yeah, I'm sure she does.
Oh, absolutely.
She has to.
She'd be like, there was this long-haired weird guy that kind of smelled weird.
I call them curls.
Yeah. Serious. Oh, my gosh. Anyway, okay, I got to get off the topic. But okay, so now let's get back to you.
Oh, yeah. Me.
Yeah, there you go. So you have 2 kids?
I do.
Okay.
I've got 2 boys. I've got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, Adler and Arlo. They are not family names. Everyone likes to know that. They're just unique names.
Okay.
My maiden name was very unique. I guarantee I was the only can I say that on air?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I was the only Kelly Brownhausen in the U.S., and now I'm Kelly Meyers. There's a few of those. So, I mean, it's shorter to spell, but most people forget the S, so I get Kelly Meyer. So I still get the misspelling, but we wanted something more unique without being weird was our goal in names.
Yeah.
And so, we got Adler and Arlo, and they are definitely little boys. They got all sorts of energy. So today is actually their first day home with Dad
Cool.
because he's a teacher, so he's off for the summer. And so when I leave for work, they put all hands in and go 1, 2, 3, boys' day, and I'm like, bye. I guess I'm going to work. But it's awesome. I love it. They're sweet. They're in t-ball and soccer, and so we're just kind of getting into the swing of running for sports. So thanks, honey, for covering soccer duty tonight.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? And now it feels like the ramp to me.
Yeah.
The ramp is it used to be before I was like, yeah, we were kind of like getting into the season of all of that stuff. And it feels like we were at nothing to like everything.
Given your ages too, like that 8-year-old, it has to be.
So my 8-year-old, all he wants to do is fish. That's it. So we fish bass tournaments together.
Fun.
It's the most fun I have all week. Like we fish every other Thursday.
Okay.
And these it's just a local deal. It's like on Madison and Jefferson and just lakes that are give or take 15 minutes away from Mankato.
Yep.
And he and I started that last year because he's like, hey, Dad, I really want to bass fish. I'm like, well, okay.
All right.
We can do that. That sounds fun.
Yep.
And we have a couple other buddies of mine that are neighbors of ours that they're way into bass fishing.
Nice.
Way more than I am. And so we just try to go there and not totally embarrass ourselves. Yeah. But no, this is the coolest part about this is I had no idea what to think about it, like zero. I never fished a bass tournament in my life.
I was going to say, do you fish?
I do. I'm a muskie fisherman, which is way different than bass fishing.
Okay.
I won't bore you to death.
All right.
That's a whole podcast in itself. You know what a muskie is, though? Do you know what
is it a bottom feeder
No,
fish?
It's a northern pike. Do you know what a northern pike is?
Yes.
Yes, it's a giant northern pike.
Oh,
It's not the same species, but they look kind of similar.
Okay.
Little different like coloration and stuff, but they get way bigger.
Okay.
Like a trophy northern pike is 40 inches.
Okay.
A trophy muskie starts at 50 inches.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Background.
So you might only catch 6 of those a year, but you're hunting the biggest fish in the lake.
Yep.
Side note. Okay, so we're fishing bass tournaments. The coolest part about being a dad in all of this is we won Lake Francis, and then we also, like last Thursday, we got dead last place. Didn't even catch a fish. So explaining to him, like some days you catch them, some days you don't. Some days you want to quit and go in early, but we're not doing that. We're going to keep fishing, and we're not catching them. I don't know where they are, and guys are going to come in with big bags of fish, and we're going to be like, what in the hell?
Right.
This was not supposed to happen this way. Or that's what I say. He doesn't say that.
Right.
I'm just like, how did they figure this out?
Yep.
And so that's been the funnest part about it is being a dad and like explaining you have to know how to lose, or you have to be able to lose to know how to win.
So true. And that's funny. That's a conversation we're having a lot with our oldest because he's like, even with our youngest playing soccer, I mean, he's 4. So they're just learning the game. He's like, you're going to score some goals tonight? And we're like, dude, even with his T-ball, Dad, did you keep track of the score? Because my husband coaches his T-ball. And it's funny to your point, to help them understand this isn't about just winning or losing. It's learning how to lose. It's learning how to play as a team and learning what you got to work on. So it is so fun. And to watch their little minds understand that, it's so good. Yeah. So good.
And I think that the competition, even though as adults we're like, okay, it's just friendly. We're not keeping score. All the kids are like, I think it's 7-6 right now.
Oh, he totally came home from his first T-ball game. He's like, it was 7-4. And I'm like, we're not keeping score. Yeah.
But all of them want to know.
They do.
And it's so funny. You can't and again, this is generalizing, but you can't take the competition out of the little kids. They want to know.
Yep.
But it's life though. It's like you have stuff that went well.
Yep.
Like I had classes I did well in, and then there was maps and cartography. I didn't do well in that one.
And knowing that those don't define you. Just because you're not good, neither of us are good at mental math on the spot.
Yes.
Like numbers terrify me. Don't
Adding
ask me
up a golf score makes me very nervous. I can't do it.
Nope. Like I was a server and I'm still like, honey, you do the tip. Like I know that I know the go-to percentage, but if someone's staring at me doing it, I panic and I shut down.
Yep.
So I'm all about words and editing.
Yeah. That's so funny because that's exactly how I am.
Yeah.
Literally, people ask me, I'm like, hey, add up the golf score. I'm like, no.
No.
Do you have a calculator? Then no.
Well, that's like plus and minuses too, right? Well, my husband golfs. I do not golf at all. Never been to a driving range even.
No, see, I don't ever get minuses. I only get
But you
I'm
don't want
over
points
par.
though, right?
Correct.
Okay.
You want the lowest score possible. And then when you're adding up your score and you're like 97, 98, 99, it's like that's just whatever beyond this it's just irrelevant at this point.
We don't need to keep score.
I
had fun.
The next best guy is whatever, 85. It's like this at this point. This is embarrassing.
Do you have a course that you like to golf around?
So I did golf at the so like my parents have been members at the golf club for a long time.
Sure. Yep.
And so they have like a lifetime membership and all that.
Nice.
So I grew up doing a little bit of that.
Yep.
And then the last, this was two years ago, is when, it was spring of 2020. I just decided not to golf.
Sure.
I had a membership up there, but I had to pick between fishing and golfing because it's hard to do both.
Yep.
If you're going to take a Thursday afternoon off,
Yep.
I'm like, I'd so much rather be in the boat or be with Owen doing those tournaments or something like that. So
agreed.
Anyway,
fair.
That's what I did. But where were we? I don't even know where we were. Were we talking about Red Lobster again? I don't even know.
I know. Again, with so much in common.
I'm going to get another White Claw. Okay, so would you like another one?
Let's see. I'll do that ruby red.
Okay.
Nobody really likes those, but I'm
going to try
I do like those.
I'm going to try this guy, this raspberry guy.
Raspberry's good. I've tried that one.
I'm not a huge White Claw fan, but being 101 degrees out today, I'm like,
they're good for when it's this hot out.
Yeah.
I just tried a new one. Oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking out. This is embarrassing. New Ulm now makes a seltzer. Grainbelt.
They do?
Yeah, I just tried it at my neighbor's on Sunday, and it was good. All good flavors, too. Well, okay, I lied. There's a pineapple in there, so I wouldn't like that one. But
so
I bet
everything
other
but pineapple?
would. What's that?
Everything but pineapple?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My wife is everything but lime. Like, if there's 10
My
limes
husband
in
doesn't
there,
like the lime on these ones either.
Yeah, I don't see...
It's lime.
To me, it's not that much different than the rest of them. It's just a little different flavor, but who knows? Whatever. Are you guys a boating family at all? Do you do any boating?
We are not. We did just last year though. We started doing week-long VRBOs with one of my brothers and then some family friends, and so that's what really got our kids out fishing for the first time. Mm-hmm. So now both my boys are interested in fishing. My goal when we vacation this summer is to be able to take the fish off the hook because I know that's such a girl thing to say. I know, but. I can bait it. I don't want to take the fish off. And I know you just got to like put they're sunnies. So we're like feed them crackers and they're just catching fish off the dock. But because both of them like to do it and then, so it should be 1-to-1 parent ratio. So that's my goal this year is to take fish off a hook. But no boats, but we're kind of starting that, awesome. those traditions. And last summer was just such a blast. And being able to teach kids about boat safety at a young age to instill them, but then being able to watch them jump off the dock with their cousins and friends. To the same point of you talking about with being out fishing with Owen, you can't beat those kinds of memories. You can't sign them up for those kinds of memories.
Yes. Yeah. Isn't that cool, though? And kids, for some reason, there's a few exceptions, but most kids huck a life jacket on them and let them jump off the dock, and they will do that until
literally all
they literally pass out from exhaustion.
Yep.
And I think being in Minnesota, that's like, it's just something that you just have to do.
Yes. And I will say my brother is a big advocate for we don't need to go to Disney now. We don't need to go anywhere else now. Even the Dells. He's like, Minnesota has all these great lakes. Mm-hmm. And he went to school in the Brainerd area. And so he's got a soft spot for the Brainerd Lakes area. But it's so beautiful up there. And Minnesota, we know this from being in Duluth, it's such a different vibe up there than it is down here.
It's a totally different
and that's
landscape.
What's so great about the state of Minnesota is how you, depending on where you go, even if you go to the northwest part of the state, it's such a different feeling. So it's recognizing and showing your kids, you're in a great state and you got a lot of options here. Don't forget about that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
do you vacation up in Duluth at all? Or where'd you go on the VRBO?
So last year was our first year, and so we were right on Gull Lake.
Oh, beautiful.
It was amazing. There was 4 families that went, and every family had their own bedroom, bathroom. So it was beautiful. And so we'll be in that similar area this summer. But yeah. We do have a boat with us that week then, and so it's nice that we can just basically wake up, take the kids fishing. We plan meals, so this family gets them for these days, and it's just kind of like yes days are really popular right now. It's kind of like a yes week. Whatever ice cream at 9 a.m., fine, it's vacation.
Yep. And those are memories that as a parent you'll never forget, and the kids will never forget.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
We did that growing up with my sister Jen and my other sister Sarah and Brad and Kathy, my parents. We would go with, Do you know Lexi and Mallory Zimmerman? Do you ever remember them?
Yep, I know the name.
Yep.
They're like you. I don't know them, but I know the name.
Yeah. So then Todd and Amy were the parents, and then we would go to Round Lake in Hayward, Wisconsin.
Oh,
and
sure.
That was our thing. And so we would be up there a week, and I remember doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
The funniest story ever about that. Todd, I hope you're listening. I'm going to make him see this.
See this part.
He's probably not going to remember this. So Todd, who's, the other dad, he's like, Matt, you ever been seagull fishing? No, I probably shouldn't say this. Tony, we might need to edit this out because Peter's going to get mad. But so he's like seagull fishing? Yeah, I'm 6, so this is a long time ago, 28 years ago. I think I did mental math right. We'll have to check that. We might need to check that.
Confirm the mental math, edit that out.
Yeah, edit that out. Let's just say action. That was a while ago. Yeah. So long story short is he's like, what happens is like, let's say you're catching fish or whatever. We caught all these little, what are they called? Perch.
Oh, yeah.
And so like every once in a while, one would like swallow the hook and die, right?
Yep.
So he's like, if you have that happen, what you do is then take the line with no hook on it and you tie it around their mouth and gill and you toss it out and it floats out there and then the seagull sees it and comes down and grabs it. So then you let the line out. We have got to edit this out because Peter's going to go crazy. And then you let the line out, and the seagull's like, great, I just got this nice meal. And then you wait a couple seconds, close the bail, and set the hook on the fish, and it goes crashing back into the water, drops the fish, and then flies away. I'm like, at the time, it was like the funniest thing that had ever happened.
Oh, my gosh. That is so good.
Yeah, so he dared me he dared me 2 different things. He's like, I don't think you can catch a seagull doing that. I'm like, I'm going to do it. And then the second thing was
6-year-old you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, 6-year-old you.
I do things either 100% or 0%.
Yep.
Like you say I can't do it, I'm like, okay, you're on.
Yep.
And so the other thing he told me, he goes, I don't think you can. There's a bunch of like mallards around.
Yep.
And he goes, I don't think you can catch a mallard duck. And I'm like, I will do that.
Challenge
So the
accepted.
whole week I would feed this one hen duck. And I got her like closer every day. And after like the 4th or 5th day, I finally got her close enough where she was like eating out of my hand. And so I grabbed her. Like I grabbed both on either side of her wings so she couldn't get away. And she like just sat there and just like didn't know what to do with herself. And I walked over and I'm like, Todd, I got it. And he's like, holy crap, the kid got it. So I caught a hen mallard. We got a picture. And I'm like just hanging out with this hen mallard.
That is the most epic story ever.
Yeah.
And totally speaks. That's an oldest child thing. I totally think that's an oldest child thing. But that is awesome. Got a duck.
I got a duck.
Where's my prize?
Yeah. I don't know. He probably gave me like, I don't know.
A quarter.
A quarter. Yeah, it was probably
Or
a quarter.
4 quarters.
Hey, quarters that's a legit deal
Okay,
when
now
you got
when
little kids.
my kid just lost his tooth. Okay, he had to get it pulled out. That's the last day of school story gone bad. But so we got $5 for his first tooth, $1 for his second, and then we had to get this tooth pulled, and all I had on me was a 10 or nothing, and apparently I should have given him the coins. But for a second tooth he lost, I grabbed all the quarters that we had. I'm like, I'm doing this wrong. He's getting way more than $2 here for this tooth.
But in our household, up until recently, quarters are the
Gold mine.
Whole thing. I mean, because they just like coins. Yeah. They're like pirates, They just love coins.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. So that's what we pay our kids in. Is like, I'll give you 4 quarters. They're like, all right, I'll do it. They're like, I'll give you $2. How about 4 quarters? All right.
Done.
Now Owen's old enough where he doesn't fall for that trick anymore.
Yeah.
But Isla just got done with kindergarten, so she's just about to figure it out.
Yep.
So
I was gonna say, yeah, it works with my 4-year-old. He did something helpful for me. I think I dumped out a laundry basket, and he just started putting it away without me asking. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you for being responsible. Here's 8 quarters for your piggy bank.
Yeah, and they're rich.
Like, what do I want to do this? I'm like, no, just do it without me asking, and then you can get 4 quarters.
There you go. You got to make your kids do some stuff.
Exactly.
So okay, so now you come back from Duluth. So now we got to like go back 30 minutes. So you come, you're a server at Red Lobster. You go to Duluth. You're falling in love or not, and then you come back to Mankato. So you majored in what?
I majored in mass communications,
and
which I think they've changed to mass media now, maybe multimedia. And then I minored in communication studies. So all talking.
So you just did that because your personality liked it, or you didn't have to do a lot of math, or?
I started in marketing.
Okay.
And I was like, macro econ at Duluth. Nope. Nope. I withdrew about week 4, and I'm like, marketing is not for me. How else can I get a foot in the door?
Economics. You said marketing.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Economics is not for you. Yeah.
No. Economics is not for me. So how else can I get my foot in the door knowing I wanted market? I wanted to be an event planner was what I thought the dream job was.
Sweet.
So I wanted to plan weddings. So I needed to figure out how I got on that avenue. And so this is kind of the roundabout way, which everyone in marketing who didn't get into marketing through a marketing degree knows this.
Yes.
Try journalism, mass media, communications.
Well, at a certain point, you get a degree, and then you figure out what you like later. Because we pigeonhole, like, ninth graders and, like, what do you want to do? It's like, you don't even know what the world is.
Well, and in mass communications, I will say, full disclosure, I was not expecting to end up at an engineering firm. I'm like...
You never thought that is even a thing?
No.
At that age, you had no idea?
No, my mother-in-law actually found a job posting, I'm going to date myself here a little bit, in the newspaper, which is probably one of the last years, because I'm still a millennial.
Yes.
Was probably one of the last years we did job postings in newspapers. And so I had been working at Red Lobster for so long that I actually took a temp position with the Taylor Company out of White Bear Lake. And then I took an internship with the St. Paul Saints thinking this is going to be my resume builder. Here we go. And holy cow, that was a lot of work. But it was fun. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you're working 80 hours a week with a $500 a month stipend. Mm-hmm. So I still had loans and bills to pay. So that was rough. So then my mother-in-law telling me about this job opening. You know, I think everyone can relate to that time out of college where you're just throwing your resume and cover letters. You're like, something sticks. Someone just talk to me. I can talk. Just someone call me.
Yes.
And I remember getting the interviews at Bolton Menk and just feeling like I left it all on the table. Like, if at least if they don't hire me, like, I very much remember telling them in my interview, though, that life wasn't handed to me on a silver platter. I'm not afraid to work, and I can show you that I have that work ethic, and I'm not afraid to put in the time to prove that to you. So I like to think that was how I snagged it. But I just remember being like, okay, if I don't get it, then it wasn't meant to be. And 9 years later, I'm a lifer. I am a lifer.
Isn't that cool that, like, you're going through that process in your life and you don't ever think, like, when you set the resume down, you're never thinking, like, that's the one.
No.
It's 9 years of my life. I'm just, because you're just like, I don't know what I'd think or like.
I'm like, I got bills to pay soon. My loans are going to really start kicking in, so hire me.
That's different than if you're, as an example, my wife's a nurse, right? She wanted to be a labor delivery nurse from like age 6 on. So that's all she wanted to do, and so that's all she was going to do. She didn't have to question like you and I. It's like, what do we do? It's like, we talk to people. What degree do you have? It doesn't matter. What do you want me to do or say? I can figure it out.
And same thing with my husband in teaching. He always, I don't want to embarrass you, honey, but it's so sweet. He always wanted to be a teacher and he always wanted to be a dad.
Cool.
So that's why I fell in love so quick.
Cool.
And he's the best dad ever. So but to your point, we know the idea of what we want to do, and I thought I wanted to plan weddings. Mm-hmm. And now I get to do what I love to do with having my weekends free. Like, that's why I say I'm living my best life. I get to have my weekends free. I get the flexibility. Like, I was off yesterday because my husband still had one more day of school, and I got to be home with the boys. So they're very much flexible on that work-life balance. And when you need to be with your family, you need to be with your family. And I think they've proven that they support that balance, and
that is really cool.
That's what keeps me here.
So you had talked about your husband wanted to be a teacher and a dad.
Yep.
So did you always know you wanted to be a mom?
I actually, yes. Let me rephrase this without making myself sound horrible, but
that's a really good way to start a sentence.
I know. I always wanted kids. I knew I wanted kids, but it was important to me. I always had this mindset, and I come from a split family, that I wanted to be the breadwinner because I didn't want to rely on anybody else to support me. So that was me. I was going to get educated. I was going to do something where I could show I worked hard so that I could support our family. Mm-hmm. And so we were a little bit opposite in that, like, typical gender roles. We were very opposite in that sense. But it's worked for us, and he's super supportive of me. I obviously, in general, I work more than him because he gets summers off, but that's a huge privilege that we have for him as a teacher, that he can be home with our boys. And so, again, coming from a split family, that was important for me to have that strong dad role for our kids. And So
and I think that's important.
Yeah.
Like I say this all the time. Is there, and everybody has different scenarios,
Yep.
and so you can't be like, hey, there's only one way of doing it.
Absolutely.
But the way I look at it, it's like I learned stuff and why I wanted to be a dad and why I wanted to marry Lisa because she wanted to be a mom, and I'm like, there are things I learned from my dad, and there are things I learned from my mom.
Yep.
And I think that's important because it's hard. I have a hard time teaching girl stuff to my kids, where Lisa has a hard time teaching dude stuff to her kids. And that's not right or wrong.
No.
And again, you're probably going to I'm going to catch flack for saying that. But you know what I mean? It's like, I think that's super cool when you can be a team as as parents.
Yeah.
And both bring something to the table and be respectful of the similarities and differences.
Yep.
I think it's hard to achieve and it's never perfect.
No.
But it's super cool when you have the same ideas moving forward.
Yep. Do you think that's a generational thing for us on being more involved and being more aware of how we're talking to our kids or how we are punishing them, if you will, or how we're talking to them? Like we were talking earlier about like this, yay, we got the biggest fish ever. Awesome. But no, we didn't catch anything today. That's still okay too, and helping them understand that it's, I just read something on this. It's the work you put in. It's not just winning. It's what was the process? What did you work on to get here?
Yep.
And I'm a big believer in, there's a quote I heard, I win or I learn, but I never lose.
Yes.
And I want my kids to know that, and I want that to be the theme of our house. And honestly, anyone I encounter, because never stop learning. I don't know anything about anything. Like I just think life happens and you learn more. So the second you close yourself off to looking at things from another perspective, then you're just missing out on yourself. That's probably why I talk for days.
But I resonate with that a lot. People ask me all the time. They're like, "You were a history and philosophy student, like, and now you like help people manage money and taxes and insurance and all that." And I'm like, I use my degree every day. Yeah. And they're like, "What?" I'm like, think about this. History. I wasn't alive during most of my clients' like working years. Yep. Right. So average clients like say 60 to 80. So I was not around for the majority of their life. History helps me understand where they grew up, how they grew up, their generational ideas, or like what they think and feel and what they went through. Yep. Philosophy, in all reality, I politely argue with people all day long. That's what I do because they come in and they're like, well, I think this is how we should do it. I'm like, Bob, that's an idea. Yep. But here's another idea. And I just show them and I walk them through, but I'm asking the questions and getting their perspective and not being like, this is the only way. This is how you do it.
Educating them and asking them
questions, educating them. But also, if you find someone that you like, and it could be the most like non-practical thing ever. If I find someone that does something and I don't know anything about it, I'm like, I'm sorry, can I just ask you 1,000 questions? Because this is really interesting. And you just want to learn about it for none other reason that you'll have some weird tidbit in a cocktail conversation. You'd be like, did you know that when they do this, this is actually what they're doing? And you're like, didn't know that. I find that so interesting to learn about stuff from other people. Like
absolutely.
I don't know what it's like.
We're in our own little bubble. Yeah, and that's how I feel being like I went to Duluth and back to where it came from. But I still don't, there's so much world that I haven't seen. So I'm all about learning about people's perspective. And even, I mean, and I think you would agree to this too, people who you grew up around where you had no idea how different their upbringing was until maybe you were older and realized it. Yep.
Because you didn't see that as a kid.
No.
And now as an adult, it's almost, I feel like I don't like it.
No, I would.
I just like people. Yeah. And I was recently on a trip, on a business trip out to the East Coast. Yep. And I hadn't been out there since like the band trip junior year of high school. So, I mean, and that's like, everyone lives on the bus and it's stinky and gross. And it's
totally
like, it's
remember
just,
that.
Oh my gosh, it was a great experience, except for I would never do it again. But I went out there and I told myself, any place I stop and eat, I'm never going to order for myself. I'm always going to ask the server and be like, hey, I'm not from here. Where are you from? They'll be like, I've lived in Oyster Bay on Long Island my whole life. I'm like, sweet. I want you to give me whatever is from here. Yep. And they're like, no, do you like this or this? I'm like,
what do you like? Like, I'm not picky.
I like spicy. anything. And that was so fun because those servers, as you being a server,
Yes.
you got excited about that because instead of being like, okay, I'll have the lobster and I'll have that's boring.
Or you might get a server secret.
Yeah. They're like, hey, you should actually
okay, take this, but actually instead of this sauce, get this and sub this. Oh, goodbye.
Yeah, they're like, look, Johnny back there does this thing he's been kind of mixing around with, and we haven't put it on the menu, but if you are up for it, we'll do it. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that.
Yes. That's a real thing.
Yes.
Restaurants do that.
I think that was one of my things. And then I would I remember I was in Port Jefferson, Long Island, and done with my meetings for the day. And I finally, one of those days where you're just your brain hurts because you were just on par or on point the whole day.
Meeting.
Yeah, you're just on point the whole day. And finally you're just like, oh my gosh, I just want to sit down and not do anything. And I talked to the bartender right away because you make friends with the bartender because it's just fun. And they're talkative people.
Yep.
And then this gal next to me, I find out she's from Long Island. And right away, she either knew I was from Canada or Minnesota, just by the way I talk.
So you both heard each other's accents.
Yeah. I'm like, you're from here. She goes, you're not from here. And so, but I started asking her questions. I'm like, I'm just an inquisitive person. Can I ask you questions? And she's like, yeah, shoot. So we're eating supper. And the thing that, whatever Johnny or whoever in the back just made me. And I'm literally asking her okay, so how do you think the shutdown went for you guys? And just asking questions.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I think that this was good and this was wrong and this is that. And I'm like, this is just really interesting to me because I wasn't in New York for all of that stuff. And Minnesota was different than there.
Absolutely.
And Long Island was different than in the city. And New York outstate was very different than the city. They all call it the city. That's what I learned about there.
All right, got it. Thank you for that.
But the point is I find it so interesting to just learn from other people because I know basically zero about
it's
a
kind
lot
of what you realize.
Yes.
Is
the more you learn, the more you know, or the more you don't know.
Yes.
However that goes. Anyway.
Edit that out.
I keep going on tangents. This is really fun. But okay, so now where'd you start with Bolton Menk?
So I started as a marketing. I think it might have been a marketing assistant. Okay. We might have called it marketing specialist at that time, but very, very entry level. Okay. So definitely over time just grew in my role, and then at the same time the firm was growing. So it really was kind of this perfect mix of evolution. So I just kind of, again, I wasn't expecting to work for an engineering firm. Yep. We talked about math, numbers. I don't do that. So,
but they also need people who don't do that.
Right. But so I balanced out well with a lot of the staff there. So yeah, just over time, as we grew, my role evolved. And so initially I was just kind of overflow work, and then it fell into conference coordination, and then we just kept adding more conferences and more services and more locations, and yeah, before I knew it, 9 years have passed, and
wow. You're here?
So now I proof more stuff. So I'm kind of transitioning from being less of a doer and more of an oversight, which is a lot more difficult than I would have expected, because it's the energy that you get from talking with that client and knowing what their needs are and being able to execute that, but it's also really cool to empower my team and give them those tools, and really keep it focused on relationships. And these are just people that have a very a lot of times technical information to share, and we have similar personalities, and that we're just trying to make it understandable for everybody else. Mm-hmm. So I always say that I'm in the best position because I'm like the client. I don't really know what a pavement management plan is, but help me understand it, then I can help you tell our clients what it's about.
Okay, so did you coming into a role that you weren't technically trained? Well, that's wrong. I said that wrong. So you're working for a company that you're not, quote unquote, technically trained for.
Yep.
And you're probably having clients come to you with information that you're like, I don't know what that means, right?
We're a little bit different in that our marketing team is set up so our internal staff are our clients.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of one of the things I love the most about it. So I'm not working with any of our clients. I'm working with our own internal staff and saying, what does your client need?
I see.
Excuse me. Let me help you build this content to help educate them on the service we offer. Or
I see.
here's this conference. We have this new technology. Let's get a presentation there. Or
Cool.
at this conference, they're looking for presentations on this. We already typically exhibit there. Let's get an expert out to detail this expertise that we have. So it's a lot of, it really is a lot of conversations and just talking with people, which I don't struggle with.
Isn't that funny though?
Yeah.
Like, I find it interesting how I was in a meeting today and I tell people all the time, this is literally what I tell, because I draw a lot of stuff on a whiteboard.
Yep.
And before I do a whiteboard presentation, I usually tell people something, and it usually goes like this. I'm like, of all the things you're going to learn today, I can guarantee you're going to learn two things. You're going to learn that I'm awful at mental math, and I think it's selfish to spell one word only one way. And so right when I say that, they're like, "Oh, you're so funny, that guy's an idiot," you know. And so then, if I now spell everything wrong or can't do mental math, they're like, "Okay, at least it's not super embarrassing," you know. But today, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta get so I'm like doing my phone like calculator.
Yep.
And the guy's like, 36,450, and I'm like,
shoot.
Oh, and I'm looking at the phone. I'm like, I hit enter. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Okay. And then I just like keep going. I'm like, oh my gosh. And he goes, yeah, that, like I added that up pretty quick in my head. And I'm like, yeah, see, I can't do that at all. It was like, ugh, sorry. But I don't even remember where I was going with that other than being
What I was going to go with
stuff,
that
but
was what I appreciate about that is your full transparency.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that, yes, you can help with his bottom line. You can help get to the solution that he's there
Yes.
for.
Yep.
The fact that you can't do it mentally, you need a calculator, that doesn't make you less reliable. If anything, I, as your client, would think, oh, good, he's just like me.
Yeah, he's just a human that has
that's
flaws.
Fine. He at least knows his calculator's right, but he knows that he's doing the right formula to get to that number.
Yeah.
So
I'm like, look, I'm really good at like 3 things. That's it. Everything else I'm awful at. But these 3 things, look, I can show you. They're 3 and they're great. And I'm like, I'm on point right there. But you ask me to spell something, I'm like, not going to do it. Spell check has no idea what I'm talking about.
Right.
Anyway, but I resonate with that because it's like you come into a job like this and you're talking with people that talk technicals a lot, and now you have to meld the technical with and how to explain that to people, and like that's not an easy thing to do, and it's not something you can test.
Very true. Want to know 3 keywords?
What's that?
Tell me more.
There you go. That's actually a really good way to do it.
I actually learned that from a few months ago. My dad was in town, and we were at Pub 500 with one of his sales guys. He works for John Deere, and so they do very much external sales. So they're, you know, and that's what his partner had told me. He's like, tell me more. He's like, the biggest thing with sales that people do wrong is they talk. Stop talking and listen. And I'm like, that's gold. So that's now a lot of what I say is tell me more. And also being transparent in the fact that I'm not the expert. And that's good because I can tell you this is I don't understand this. We need to take it down a level so that anybody can understand it.
And you don't have the ego to be like, oh, I know that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like, I'm the first to be
which takes
like, I don't know.
That I do believe that that's a skill. Not everybody wants that criticism. Not everyone's okay with being like, oh, I don't know the answer. But again, I win or I learn. That's why that's my mantra, if you will. Is that the right term? Mantra? Might be wrong.
Mantra, maxim, whatever. Doesn't matter.
It's my motto.
It's my. Isn't that not like in Lion King? It's like, what's the motto with you or whatever he says in Lion King? I don't know. I got a bunch of little kids. We watch Disney movies all the time. Oh, anyway. But so I find that I resonate with that because that's a hard spot. So if like anybody's listening that doesn't know exactly what they want to do in their life, that's totally okay. It usually means you like to talk to people.
Right.
And that's fine. You'll do just fine. I told my parents when my dad, who is a banker, like numerical guy, like, you know, A and B and C all add up to D and all of that.
Very black and white.
He's like talking to my mom. So has he picked a major yet? You know, he's almost screwed it all up first semester. He's just going to figure it out. And she's like, yeah, I think he's going to do history and philosophy. What are you going to do with that? And I remember, I'm like, dude, I have enough confidence in myself that I can figure it out. I just need a piece of paper that says I'm not going to quit. And when I told him that, he's like, okay.
Because it gets you, and I mean, as an involved parent. And
Yeah. And so I try my best with my kids to be like, let's just follow what you love and what you like, and like,
Absolutely.
we'll figure it out from there.
Yep.
But anyway, so what does your typical day look like, and what are you actually doing? Because I don't even, you told me your role, and I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Right.
But what's your day-to-day look like?
So my day-to-day, like most people, starts with checking your email.
Tell me more.
So you're catching up from the day before.
Yeah.
But again, coordinating is a big piece of it. So we have planned content or planned material that we want to put out throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's some of those projects I lead, some of them I'm more oversight on. So those are our planned pieces. And then conferences is a big element of what we do. And then as part of those conferences, we get perks with our sponsorships. Or we also go for the extra opportunity of submitting abstracts to be chosen to be presented. So again, just helping elevate our staff of experts and making sure the outside world knows that they are experts in these things. So just making sure that they don't focus, I mean, not that they shouldn't focus on projects. Projects are always number one, but also that they share their expertise with others, especially within our own industry, so that they can continue to learn and realize what's available to their community.
So tell me about these conferences. Like, how does that work?
We go to, as a firm, I think we're up to 125 conferences a year. And some of those we're just attending, some of them we're presenting at, and some of them we have a double booth at.
Okay.
So, and everything in between. And they cover all of our services. So we have everything from our general civil municipal services to specialty conferences that are related more to water, wastewater services. We have some dedicated.
Okay, so back up. So for dumb people like me that don't know what is the civil? You said the first one.
Civil municipal.
Okay, so is that like sewer, water, city,
infrastructure
streets,
services,
banging into stuff,
all the
and
stuff
like
you
big
don't
excavators
see.
and stuff, or
Yes.
not? Okay,
Yep,
all right,
exactly.
Good.
Okay, sorry. Can I go to the bathroom?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, good. I was like, I will pick up right where we left off there, but oh my god.
What do you want to talk about next? What were we talking about?
We were talking about conferences and
Yes.
what infrastructure or civil municipal means. So thank you for kind of knowing what that was, because again, non-technical.
What I say is it jackhammers banging into stuff and backhoes? Like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Like, whatever that was.
Also, when you said, because we won't go back in time to this, I forgot I knew your wife was a labor and delivery nurse.
Did you?
Okay, I'm sure you've heard this before. She looks so much like your sisters.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember if I saw her. I don't think she was my nurse for either of the boys, or even a nurse that checked in on me. But yes, once you said that, I'm like, oh, I knew that. I knew that too about you. Your wife was a labor and delivery nurse.
Yeah. She's awesome. But it's so funny how she sees everything like black and white, and I'm just like, let's dive off the cliff and figure it out.
Seriously.
Oh, it's just it's hard, to figure that out, but it's really cool. Like we were talking about with like parenting and all that stuff. Like you have the two perspectives. Yep. And they're not necessarily wrong.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a good one. That's my mom.
You look exactly like your mom. You're gonna age well.
That's totally literally what my husband told me.
Yeah, you're gonna age well.
Yeah.
Nice. What's your mom's name?
Barb.
Barb. Hey, Barb. We're gonna start the podcast. Barb, I'm checking you out right now. Just to let you know, your daughter's gonna age well. Nice job. She's gonna love that.
She's awesome.
Tony's gonna figure out how to get that in there.
Yep. She will, and she will. I'm totally gonna send it to her. She'll like and follow your podcast. She's like my biggest Bolton Menk supporter. No, she's awesome. But that's awesome.
How does hold Mike? How to spell?
Oh, that was so good.
I'm not kidding.
Nice.
I'm not kidding. I write emails. I have to change words. It's embarrassing. It's terrible.
I'll proof your email anytime you need me to.
Grammarly. You ever done Grammarly?
Yes.
It is the bomb.
I really like Grammarly.
I love it. Yes, I bought that. Whatever it costs, I don't even know. I don't care. Like that is the greatest. Whatever, $25 a month that I pay. It's amazing.
And honestly, grammar is another one of those things. I consider myself a good grammar person, but never stop learning on that.
Yes.
Especially the English languages. I before E, except after C, except in these 45 words.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
there's no rhyme or reason.
I find it interesting, though, is like how it makes it more concise. It'll take your
Yes.
words, like superfluous words, and it'll just go, how about this? And it's like red line, red line, red line. And all of a sudden, poof, it's like, huh, all right,
So
that sentence is way better.
That is a big part of what I do, actually.
Really?
So a lot of times we are restricted on how much text we can have, whether it's an ad or a proposal or an article. And so you're figuring out how to send that same message to be easier to understand, but also being concise because you only have 300 words.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of our abstracts that we have to submit, which is basically just a quick bio on like what are you going to present on, are only 300 words. So if you have, every word's 14 letters long because it's so technical, it's a little much. So.
And isn't it interesting, though, like being a conversational person, is the English language and how you use it and how you speak it, tone and inflection, and the best is silence. The use of silence is my favorite thing to do. Do you find that?
The hardest to use because, fun fact about me, I struggle with silence. So
Tell me more.
If we're in a staff meeting and my boss asks a question and no one says anything in the first 4 seconds, I'm like, well, okay, well, I got something to say. No one, me? Okay, got it. Because I've always got something to say. I could talk to a wall if I had to. Yeah. I just told my husband that, and he's like, you could talk to a wall. I'm like, I talk to myself in my car sometimes.
Oh, yeah, that's the best.
Who doesn't do that, though? Can I just get a poll quick?
Yeah.
Can we
I think so. Like, comment, poll. Yeah, thumbs up if you talk to yourself in the car.
I swear.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom. I learned this from you. I remember seeing her, like, mouth conversations to herself in the car, and I totally do the same thing with my kids in the car.
Yeah. And isn't it crazy, like, you're turning out to be your parent, and I'm like, my gosh, I am Brad Brozick to a T. He does something goofy. I'm like, I have a genetic predisposition to do exactly that. I'm going to. It's happening.
It is happening. I just caught myself telling my son 2 days ago, no, it's not necessary. And I just was like, you are your mom. Here it comes full circle. And I very much remember she told me I couldn't go to this middle school dance. And I had a ride arranged. I could get there to and from. She didn't even do anything. Yeah. And she said I couldn't go. And I'm like, why? All my friends are going to be there. And I'm going to be the only one not there. And she's like, it's not necessary. And now I understand they need to hear no on the easy stuff. So when you have to tell them no on the hard stuff. But you don't know that when you're a 12-year-old middle schooler and your crush is going to the dance, Mom.
Yeah. Yeah, little Bobby was there. Yeah. No, thanks, Mom, because he totally is not good. Bad person now.
Yeah, right? Which thank you now for that.
But my favorite part about, like, I talked to my wife, my assistant Sarah, like a lot of the close people that I have. When I started doing what I do, I started doing farm estate planning seminars. And I knew nothing about farm estate planning. Zero. But I knew that it was something that would be valuable. Yep. I really wanted to learn how to present in front of people and not be nervous if it was 3 people or if it was 3,000. Yep. I just wanted to do that. Yep. And I knew that I had the confidence in myself that I could figure it out. Yep. So what better way to make yourself learn something than have to present it? There's no better way to learn it. And so 100%. That's what I did. And I had a couple of mentors that gave me a ton of amazing information. I wouldn't be able to do it without them. Yep. But oh my gosh, like that was the greatest fun. And my favorite part about the whole thing is when you would ask a question and you would use like the awkward silence to get everybody's brains like engaged and and you can see it in their eyes. Yep. It's like I tell people my favorite part about communicating with humans is watching their light bulb turn on. And you can see it in their face. Yep. And you'll be in front of 30 people, 50 people, doesn't matter. Yep. And all of a sudden you say something like, and you thought that? And you just sit there and you wait. And everyone's like, oh crap, is he going to talk? Like what? And then they're like, wow, like, yeah, they're right. Holy crap, I need to whatever. And then you keep going on. But you see everybody's light bulb turn on. And that is my favorite thing to do because they don't know it, but it's all over their face. Yeah. All over their face.
All right, I'm totally taking that technique back to the office. So I'm like, all right, when you guys are when you're presenting, pauses are good. Let them think on it.
If you can conquer the art of silence, you have mastered presenting.
Challenge accepted.
I'm not that great.
Challenge accepted, Matt.
All right.
Okay?
Here's what you need
follow
to do.
back.
Here's what we should do. I should present on the art of silence. That would be fun. I would do that in a heartbeat. That would be awesome. Because I've never done that
I'm gonna
before.
call you on that.
And that would be sweet. Because then I have to really get good at it. And I'm not that good at it, but I'm kind of good. Like a little bit. Like 4 out of 20. So I'm going to have to, because what better way to learn it than present on it? Yeah.
I love that.
Like the use of words, not saying and, but, or like all that.
Yep.
Holy crap.
Yep.
Which I've already said. Tony's going to mark it. Like he'll put a number like right here. It'll be like 265.
Verbal fillers, as I recall from speech class, but...
Oh, my gosh. Anyway, sorry. We're way off topic. What were we even talking about?
Conferences.
Thank you. Okay.
So many
conferences. So the jackhammer conferences or like the backhoes and other things.
Yes. So we have... Start that over, Tony. So we go to...
Start that over, Tony.
So we go to over 120 trade shows as a firm each year, ranging from civil, municipal...
120? Yeah. Holy crap.
Yes. Throughout our 23 locations. So now we're in the southeast region.
So like how big of, when you say region, like are you talking like half the United States, 5 states? Like where are you talking about?
So up until last year... Again, this is kind of like mental math. Don't quote me on this. Check our website for the facts. But within the last couple of years, we have expanded to the southeast region, which is North and South Carolina.
Okay.
So now we are in Raleigh, Charlotte, and Myrtle Beach. However, prior to that, we were a Midwest company. So very much, it was founded in St. Peter, actually, which is so fun about Bolton Menk. It started literally in a garage. And it started in a garage because if the business didn't work out, then they could at least have a garage out of it. So...
what year might have this been?
1949.
Wow.
Yeah.
So to give perspective, the Second World War was over in 1945. So this is just right after the Second World War. People are like, okay, well, let's haul ass and do some cool stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And John Bolton and Martin Menk it was a... professor, John Bolton was the professor and Martin was his student, and they actually bought this garage together and went in on it together. And it's in our firm profile, so I've seen the text so many times, but it really is this cool of a story where they saw people with a need. And I appreciate you bringing that history perspective because I'm not strong in the history in remembering those details.
Yep.
So knowing that makes all the more sense. No wonder you got a garage, because if it could fail, because who knows, the war just ended.
Yeah.
What's life going to be like?
Yep.
But yeah, they saw that communities had needs for infrastructure, and so they started this up-and-coming company. And then I don't know the exact year it moved to Mankato, but eventually moved from St. Peter to Mankato. So the coolest part to me that I'll like legit get goosebumps over is that we started with legit 2 guys in a garage, and now we just expanded to South in North Carolina. We have 650 employees that are so genuinely dedicated to helping people. Mm-hmm. It's why I say so confidently I'm a lifer. The way that we treat our clients, yes, they have a road to build, they have a tower to build, they have problems, but we're not trying to just sell them stuff to get the buy-up or because we have a new service. This is what your community needs. So we don't just come in and say, here's what you need in North Mankato. You need a new water tower here. Yeah. Nope, we get in, we get to know the community. It's a very much an education process for them. So we're here. We're your ally. We're here to tell you what this stuff means and help you understand what your best option is. Because again,
engineering nerds that everybody needs.
Yep. Yeah. And they know what the best options are. Yeah. And I'm here to be like, okay, but nobody knows what you're talking about. Yeah. So help me understand it, and then we'll kind of meet in the middle on how to share that message. Yeah. So it's very fulfilling. And now, and I think most people on the marketing team can admit to this nerd out, is you drive through, you're going to Duluth or the Brainerd area, and now you're passing communities along the way, and you're like, oh, we did their water tower. Oh, we just did this project there. Oh, we did this project there. So and it's getting you more familiar with the state of Minnesota, and beyond. But for me, it's always a little more fun when I know they're doing projects on a road that I drive constantly. Yeah.
So do you find different parts of the state have different needs because of, like you look at southern Minnesota, you go take a shovel and dig up some dirt, and it's like the greatest deepest brown or like blackest soil, the greatest. You go up to St. Cloud, that's different. You go up to Duluth, it's
absolutely
nothing but rocks and sand.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how the projects differ depending on where you are in our region, say Minnesota, Northern Iowa, Wisconsin, South Dakota, that type of thing.
Sure. I will preface this again with this is my non-technical perspective of this. But, I mean, at the end of the day, every community has different needs based on their community culture is honestly a big part of it. So, I mean, you're familiar with the culture of Mankato and even the big deal it was when North Mankato, when Spring Lake Park was actually a swim facility and bringing that and what the change that was for that community. So I think it's absolutely everyone's got a different culture and it's understanding what that community needs, whether that's a specific city, if it's an entire county, and so you have multiple cities that need input. But hands down, what the city of Mapleton needs compared to the city of Duluth, even the city of Proctor.
Yeah.
Compared to, and I can say Proctor because you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
But even the city of Proctor compared to Mapleton, night and day difference because of where they are in the state and what's even bringing people to them.
And what natural resources they do or don't have or like what they have to do
Absolutely.
there.
And we have a water resources, we have a lot of water resources specialists. So we have an entire environmental planning and permitting team which focuses on the outdoor part of it, like on the vegetation, on the plants, on the natural habitats, on saving wildlife. I actually just drove across the Bloomington Ferry Bridge last weekend and just realized for probably the first time ever that that's a wildlife habitat. Like, so that was, now I drive that bridge and I'm like, wow, that had to, the amount of permits needed for that, I bet that was a big public involvement to get that project approved.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, perspective, things I never thought about. I probably have become a lot more environmentally conscious from working with it. Just, again, it's an awareness. It wasn't something I was exposed to know that, you know, maybe try stop using those plastic bags after all. Like, yeah, it's convenient for you, but think beyond you.
Yeah.
So,
and like you were talking about, there's I truly believe that there's a generational shift that is going on between, like, I'm not that educated in this, but I really believe that you have a lot of, like, we are technically millennials.
We are.
But, like, we're not really millennials because we're on the very, like, beginning. Like, we are the first couple years of millennials as the cutoff, which is so funny because they're like, if you're after this date, you're a different person.
Right.
It's like, no, that's not right. But
geriatric millennials become a thing? I'm like, what? No.
You're a whole like subcategory.
Right. No, I was here before and after the internet. That's all I need you to know.
Oh my gosh, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah,
oh,
right.
Like,
that's our next podcast.
When we were going to Duluth, like I was just explaining this. Facebook was like you still
we
had.
We just got access because we had college ID.
Yes.
That was a big deal.
That was brand new. Yep. Like we were the first couple years of Facebook. And if you didn't have a college ID, you couldn't get in.
No, and I remember logging into that the second that I had it. To be like, oh, I'm on Facebook now, because we'd have like my friend's sisters, because she was in college.
Yeah.
But yeah, and now our grandmas are on it.
Yes. Yeah, and they're talking about grandkids and all the other goofy stuff that they do, and that's bonkers. You think about, like, Wade is a good example. He's not here. Wade had a prior engagement, but like when he went to college, he just turned 40, and I'm 34. So that's not that long of time.
Oh, we're only a year apart then.
Yeah. So you look at like this, split second of time that is in the history of history.
Yep.
I mean, microsecond. And Wade didn't bring his laptop to school, like, because he didn't have one. That's not what they did. And so, like, when we went to Duluth, you backpack, laptop, and notebook, and you just sat and you're like on your lap. That's what you did.
Yep.
And in that little time frame is when that all happened.
Which is crazy. That's not that long ago.
No.
Which is
this.
Wow.
I was there 2005, fall of 2005.
Yep.
To
and
2009.
Might have been fall of 2006.
Yes.
Through the next year, but yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That is.
And now we all have, these little phones that have like more computing power than our laptops did when we were in class.
Yeah.
No problem. By like probably 5 times.
Well, now people are smart enough. They just record the whole lecture and then they.
Isn't that amazing?
That is so amazing.
Oh
I mean, even like the ability to, I will say that with COVID happening, we use Microsoft Teams as a firm, and that it kind of put us all into that technology. So it's like, this is our only option.
Yep.
So regardless of your generational differences, most people, I would say, firm-wide got on board. And there's a couple, like, I would say more culture team chats that I've been involved in that are like, all right, it's Headphone Friday. What are we listening to? Oh, who's got their flannel on? And being able to incorporate the people from, that had either moved out or we had acquired from the Southeast region, be like, we still do flannel out here. So using that almost in the same way we did in early college years to stay connected, but yet on a professional level.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that's a culture thing, though.
Yeah.
Like, I was talking to Tony and talking to you. You guys talk about culture.
Yeah.
Not very many companies talk about culture, at least in a positive way.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point.
Which I think is really interesting.
Yep.
So I don't know whether that makes the cut or not of the episode, but
totally. It's
yeah, I find that very interesting. So now we talked about the civil part. There was other parts that you guys do, right?
Yep.
Not the jackhammers and loud noises and like banging into stuff and backhoes.
Right.
Like, what are the other things that projects that you guys do?
Us as a firm.
Yep.
So one project I can speak to specifically that's happening in our neck of the woods because we're in southern Minnesota.
Yep.
We were part of a study that led to the roundabouts that are being put in at the end of North Riverfront in 14.
Okay.
And man, am I so excited about those because have you ever been at those?
I have. Yeah.
I am a little bit roundabout obsessed now.
Yeah. I was pretty skeptical moving
I
into
was
it.
too. I was too. I'm like,
you think a semi is going to come through there? It's like, no way, this ain't going to happen.
But how much do you love Highway 22?
Yeah,
It's amazing.
It's actually,
I
totally am. I was way wrong.
Yeah.
And sorry, like ego aside, I was totally wrong.
Yep. But a big part of what we do is if we need to, a project we've done in the past is we brought mini roundabouts to St. James, so a smaller community. That's scary. If you were to go to Mapleton right now and be like, you don't even have a stoplight, we're going to give you a roundabout though, or we're going to take away your one stoplight. There's like a weird connection to those, and it's like defines you as a community. Like, no, we need this. So that's why I go back to we really find out like their community culture, and that's probably why culture comes out so much within the staff because it really is understanding the community culture to give them a solution that works for their community. So it's not that we have the answer.
Yeah.
I mean, we have answers.
You have a solution.
We have options.
There are different solutions for different people, places, things, ideas, all of that.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And isn't that cool, though? Because that resonates with your way of thinking, which is learning from people. Like, tell me more.
Yes.
Like, well, we like that stoplight. It's like, tell me more. Instead of being like, stoplights are dumb. Just be like, tell me more.
And I know St. James had something that was a little bit newer where they had I'm sure there's a better term for this, but the roundabout also brought in like basically back-end parking, ankle parking. So recognizing what is just lack of education, which when it comes to roundabouts, a lot of times that's what it is. It's like fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Oh, what's this big city thing you're bringing down to Mankato? We got semis and tractors coming through here. But I mean, if you can give people some silence so they listen.
Yeah.
Then you have the opportunity to educate them and say, okay, yes, this is different, but at least now if they have an impact, they're going 25 miles an hour, not 65, trying to hit that green light so they don't have to sit there for another 7 minutes, which feels like 4 hours.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
And I'm no joke when those roundabouts went in, I had clients that they would ask me, what way can I get there to not go through a roundabout?
Yeah, and I totally get that. They're scary.
They were.
At first.
Yep. And so I would have to draw on a map. I'm like, well, it's going to take an extra, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get here. They're like, doesn't matter.
Yep.
And they will do that. And it's like, okay, cool. If that's what you want to do, that's great. But whatever. But I was totally wrong on those. I'm like, this is dumb. And then I'm like, no, okay. Yeah, stoplights.
That's especially that one at the mall. I still remember being in like high school wanting to go day after Thanksgiving shopping, and my mom worked at Mankato Clinic. Yeah. And so she'd drop me off and then would pick me up after, and I would just shop all day. And I remember sitting at that light to turn at, 6 a.m. waiting and just waiting and waiting.
See, selfishly, the way that I love it the most is when I used to live, they first put them in when I lived over on Knollcrest Drive in Mankato.
Oh,
and
sure.
Up just right on top of the hill there. And
Yep.
I would go fishing, and it would be like 4 o'clock in the morning, right? And you'd have to stop at all the lights. And I'm like, this is bonkers.
Right.
Because they're just on timers and random and
Yep.
whatever. It's like, this is dumb. So now when they first put those roundabouts in and I'm just like zipping right out of town, I'm like,
I love roundabouts.
okay, phone.
Okay, fine.
I'm wrong. I was roundabout's awesome. I'm just sipping my coffee out of town 10 minutes earlier than I normally would have.
Yes.
Yeah, so that actually works pretty good. So, okay, so now 2 questions.
Yep.
Is your 2 boys are how old?
6 and 4.
Okay. So, like, 2 questions. What's the future of you as a mom? What's the future of you as a professional?
I think they kind of started to overlap, just in knowing more about STEM education. Are you familiar?
Which is what? I don't know what that is.
That
Remember, I'm not that smart.
STEM is, I'm totally blanking on what the acronym means right now, but it is introducing youth to science, engineering, arts, and math. There you go. There you go.
Wow. Look at you.
I forgot a T. But, and it's basically engineering or the AEC industry, architectural engineering construction.
Okay.
If you don't know what you don't know. So really, STEM, and the big difference being the A that stands for arts, which counts Tony and I in on this party.
Yeah.
And it's just exposing them at a young age to see if they're interested. Because your dad was a banker, for example, so he's like, numbers. Yeah. He might be more open to engineering because he's a numbers guy, but we'll just use Tony, for example, because he's back there. Maybe Tony didn't have anyone in his family who was exposed to that kind of stuff. So how would he even know that that's an option for him? Yep. So knowing that there's a shortage in the AEC industry and watching my boys and what their natural interests are, my oldest is a sports guy. He thinks he's going to be, and I hope you are, buddy. I really do. He wants to be Adam Thielen. Sweet. And so winning and losing, we talk so much about Adam Thielen and that, and
he's a great example.
Everything against him.
Yeah, he's a great example.
And he truly is. And I just saw some friends of ours. Their oldest was at a camp with Thielen over the weekend. Like literally, Thielen's in the shot with him. And how cool. But my youngest is very much. He wants to do puzzles. He wants to build Legos. So I'm like, oh, do you want to do engineering, architecture, construction? What do you want, buddy? Yeah. Right now, he wants to drive a dump truck. Yeah. But he's clearly more hands-on. So I just want to keep, in terms of mom, I just want to keep exposing them to career ideas. Not that he can't be a football player, oldest one, but understanding the work that actually goes into that. You don't just get to put on a jersey and run out on game day and be like, whoa! Yeah. Because that's what he thinks right now.
Yeah. It's 90% work, 10% on the field game day. Yeah.
And I always think when football, I weirdly always think of the kickers. Because either everyone loves you or everyone hates you. Yeah. And you get one chance. I think that would be the most stressful
You should tell him to be a punter. The punter.
That's what I mean. The punter.
That's
there you
what you
go.
That's it's the
really good terms.
No, the kicker's fine because the kicker they love or hate because he either made the field goal or he didn't.
Okay, so that is still the same role. Okay, good.
But they sometimes, and a lot of times actually, they'll separate the punter and the kicker. So the kicker kicks the field goal to score the points. The punter just says, okay, we're out of downs and we got to kick it down as far as we can.
Okay, so less detailed?
If you have a bad punt, it not always, but it typically isn't going to mean the end of the game.
Sure.
But if you miss a field goal with 1 second left, the game's over and you lose. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want that.
Who's the Vikings guy that everyone loved to razz on?
Oh, we can't even bring that up.
Okay,
let's not even bring that up because
all right, we won't go there.
Everyone's shutting this off right now.
Okay, all right, fine. So that's how involved I am in football. But
there's been a couple. Let's just say,
all right, gotcha.
Vikings fans are a little sensitive to that subject when it comes to field goal kickers.
But we're really eager every year.
Yes, every year we're on it, and we're blowing the horn and skull and all this stuff. And then by game 7, we're like, no, why is this happening again?
Okay, so I do have to tell one little story about my future football player. I don't know where he started this from, but I do. He started watching NFL football games on our Roku TV. He would watch. It started because he'd finish watching the Vikings game from before, but then he'd go back instead of cartoons, he'd watch prior games.
Wow.
And I don't know when or how he learned the national anthem, but 2 summers ago he started going out in our yard, and he would play football, but he would start by running out of the tunnel, singing the national anthem at the top of his lungs.
Good for him.
For our neighbors to hear. And
Yep.
I'm like, where did you... I don't walk around. I love music, and I like sing along to the radio, but I don't walk around singing the national anthem.
Yeah.
And, oh my gosh, he just belts it in our backyard at the top of his lungs.
Sweet.
And like the Rockets Red Glare part, he's like, and like not on tune by any means, but his heart, I appreciate it. So he's from beginning to end learning that track. But yeah. Sorry, tangent. Our youngest one, I think he shows more interest in engineering, architectural, construction. At this point, more construction. So I just want to expose them to that as a mom and support them, and mainly make sure they understand that it's not about how much you know, but it's about acknowledging where you need to improve and owning that.
Or just wanting to improve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm, in terms of work, my big thing with my team is be transparent. I might be a marketing communications coordinator, but I'm not perfect. Mm-hmm. I'm still learning every single day. Mm-hmm. We can learn from each other. They're still experts in their own right, and if we think any one of us is more intelligent than the other, that's the second we start losing, in my opinion.
Yeah. So two things that I thought were really cool. One is there's a gajillion ways to make money in this country, and 99.97% of them we don't even know about.
Yep. And don't involve college.
I'll
fully say that as a
exactly
wife of a teacher. I'm not pushing my kid to college.
Yep.
Let me use your friend as an example.
Great example.
Yeah.
Josh, yeah. He's selling
Where's
guitars.
your passion?
And you know what? He doesn't do that bad.
Right, exactly.
And he's
happy.
Guitars, and he's happy. He makes his own schedule, does what he wants, and you know, he like whenever I'm out fishing, and in the Twin Cities, I'll text him like, dude, I'm out on the lake. You want to come? He's like, sure. He doesn't even like fishing. He just likes being in the boat. And so we'll like just hang out and talk, and I fish, and he'll fish maybe a little bit. And then, you know, it's like whatever. But the two things, and I got to remember both of them now. Is the first one is there's a gajillion ways, a gajillion ways to make money in this country, and just understanding, like you had said, about learning how by understanding how to lose. No, that's how you know how to win, basically. Yep. Like, you have to accept that whether it's a football game, singing the national anthem, any of that stuff, it's like you got to know that some days are going to be your days, and some days, you know, you're going to catch them some days, and you're not going to some days. And you got to understand that. And then, what was the second thing? There were two things. Oh, you said transparency.
Yeah.
I love that word because it's like, it's no different than when I tell people, I'm like, look, I think that it's selfish to spell one word only one way. Yep. And just come out with it. It's like, look, you can laugh at me all that you want, but I literally have no idea how to spell or do mental math. And I really suck at it. But that's okay.
We have different strengths.
Yes. And but guess what? And there are other people, like my wife, she proofs all my newsletters and all that stuff. And she's like, is this the word that you're trying to do? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay. Just like write it in, and I look at it, and I'm like, oh god,
I see why you asked that one.
But on the other hand, you put her in front of 300 people to explain a complex concept in a way that they can
even
understand.
Even if it was labor and delivery?
Even if it was labor and delivery. And she would clam up, and she would stop talking, and she would like freak out and run off the stage. And I'm like, sweet, let's do it. That'd be awesome. I would do that in a heartbeat. So I think just being transparent, I think when you're talking about generational things.
Absolutely. That's what they want.
That's what they want. Like, as an example, again, because I talk too much.
No, I like it. Keep coming.
So I love to fish. Mm-hmm. And I don't like to do a lot of social media stuff, but I am on Instagram. And all the people that I follow are one of two things. One, they're positive. If they're negative, they get like deleted right away. Yep. I mean, one post that's negative, you're out. Yep. And then second is fishing. So if you're one of those two things, then I follow you on Instagram. And what's crazy about it is there are fishermen that I know that get paid money to like say, Humminbird's the best, Lowrance is the best, like Garmin's the best, you know, because they get paid money to do that stuff. Mm-hmm. But the coolest part about it that I've noticed is the best ones will say things like, okay, I know, you know, like they'll just say it like, look, I use Garmin. You know, Garmin pays me, but here's why I use them. And he'll go through and like then start talking about this is why I use this.
Why.
Instead of being like, you need Garmin right away or you need Humminbird this. It's like, I don't need anything. Stop talking to me.
Right.
Or they'll hashtag ad. and then they'll
you're
go
out.
through it. Like, no, I actually like that. They'll hashtag ad, and because they're being upfront. It's like, look,
Sure.
this is an ad. It's just
Which all it really does is tell you that you're getting paid. They're getting paid for it, which isn't a bad thing.
No, I'm like,
if they believe in it.
Yeah. And so they're like, look, I could have a Mercury motor, I could have a Yamaha, I could have a Suzuki, but I chose this. And the reason why is because of these 5 reasons.
Yep.
It's like, no, maybe that was the only person who actually gave him a contract, but at least they're being upfront and honest about it. It's
Exactly.
Like, don't sit and sell me stuff, because I think our prior generations were like, if your life sucks, here's the one thing that's going to make it work.
This brand's the only way to go because this is all the families use, so we're going to keep using this.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. It's a generational thing that they're asking more questions. Like, the interest in sustainability alone has been very eye-opening to me.
Like, you're talking sustainability, like, for the environment, or
Yep.
what are you talking
and
about?
in terms of inclusion. Like, I think in our generation, we were growing up and it was just like, yeah, everything's fine. Like, sure, I don't notice this, but now it's more of a conversation. And they want to be heard, and they want to make sure that people are being included, that we're thinking about the environment. And so it's a good thing. I think sometimes the mixing of generations can be looked at as a bad thing, but that's, again, why I go back to transparency. And if you're all willing to listen to one another, everybody can learn from everybody.
Yeah.
You know,
You're
there's
not
a
shouting
reason.
over each other.
No.
You're just like, okay, I might think that's dumb, but you think it's great. So
Let me hear you
why?
out. Yeah.
Why do you think that?
Yep.
And at the end, you might go, I never thought about it that way.
Exactly.
The conversation with the gal in New York sitting there eating the thing that couldn't even tell you what it was, but it was delicious.
Yep.
Like, she said some stuff. I'm like, I think that's dumb. And I'm like, why would you say that? I literally... At this point, I have my wife and family. They're all back home, and I probably had 2 beers at this point, and I'm like, what? Why? You know?
Yeah.
She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, that doesn't sound like a good idea at all. She's like, well, let me tell you. And at the end, I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't grow up on Long Island. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. It's so
pretty
true.
cool. So I want to thank you very much, because we're like at an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh,
believe it or not.
we knew we'd go over. We're best friends.
That's totally we're best friends.
I'll be back in a future episode.
No, we absolutely have to do that. So because what we were talking about, like you said something about like the first try or something right away in the beginning. I'm like, well, it's okay.
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
have you back. It'll be fine.
We'll watch that back and
we'll figure it out.
we'll get some more topics coming. But
So and there's there's a politician, I won't say which, because then you might offend somebody, but there's a politician that's having a get-together next door. And so it'll be fun, because whether it's one politician or the other, there's going to be people freaking out outside. So we got to go at least check that out. Hey, speaking of talking to people about different ideas, we can maybe go out and do that.
there you go.
Yeah. And they have wine out there.
Food and wine. I mean, can't lose.
Whatever. So I want to say, number one, thank you for being on, taking the time. I know, obviously, doing your job, mom, wife, all the stuff, that's a lot, and especially with sports and kids and all the stuff. So I very much appreciate you doing that.
Thank you.
Secondly, thank you for telling me all the goofy things that you knew about me, and I knew nothing about you.
I mean, to be fair, you shouldn't have known who I was. I just knew you were Jen's brother.
Yeah, okay. Well, that maybe is a good thing. I don't know. So shout out Jennifer. Her nickname is Bajinja. So if you know anything about Jennifer, she's got like 12 nicknames. Legitimately.
She teaches at my kid's school.
She does.
So
yeah, she's a first grade teacher at Hoover.
Yeah. So next
Mrs.
year,
Anderson.
come on, Anderson.
Yeah, Mrs. Anderson.
Yeah.
So if you're coming into her classroom and you call her Mrs. Bajinja, you get like an extra couple of points that day. So if you're listening to this, she'll do a great job. Yeah, it's
absolutely.
Like, I mean, literally, she has 13 nicknames. But anyway. So thank you very much for doing that.
Absolutely. This is
and
awesome.
I very much appreciate you taking the time.
This is fun.
And yeah, this was a really fun conversation. I literally feel like we could go on for another
I feel like we've
3
been here
hours.
for 15 minutes.
Yes. So
So.
I would say we actually endorsed Tony to get a raise for his job because he was doing such a good job. So this is an official endorsement that we are now going to –
Tony!
Bolton Menk is never going to have another employee in this room because they're going to have to pay him more. But I think you do an amazing job of taking complex technical stuff and bringing it down into a way that someone like me who doesn't run a jackhammer or understand schematics can understand. So I think schematic, is that even the right word?
We'll go with it. Yeah.
Whatever. Like plans and measurements and.
I'll make you spell it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Probably started out with like a C or something like that. It'd be just terrible. I can't spell
It's a good try. You got to start somewhere.
God. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We're going to have you on at some other point when you have.
I'll be back.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about some other cookie stuff. So
For sure.
We'll be done with that. Bye, everybody.